this schedule really shapes up for a playoff run with a 12-team playoff.
Areas that, you need to get from experience, which is just, hey, I need to make quicker decisions.
How do you define success for this team?
National championship.
What's going on, y'all? I'm Bud Elliott. This is my summer school series on the Cover 3 College Football Podcast, and today we are talking Virginia. I go to Wahoo's 247. That's Jacquie Franciuilli. Jacquie, welcome back.
Yeah, nice to have you here. That's because now we know that football season's coming up, right? Whenever I do summer school, I know it's weeks away from ACC kickoff.
Exactly. All right, so Virginia last year, improvement. 5 wins, sniffed a bowl game. What's kind of the mood around the program as Tony Elliott enters his 4th season?
I think the mood is vastly improved from what we saw after that Virginia Tech game. I think at that Virginia Tech game, they had injuries. They didn't play as well as they wanted to. So it was kind of like a down kind of ending to the season. But then once the portal came in the winter and then the portal came in the spring and you have an influx of new talent, I mean, Virginia has been getting, several talent. Right now, as we're talking, they have 29 transfers, probably going to add more. And you're going to see more depth and experience depth. So it's a very optimistic view of Virginia right now.
Offensively, so Des Kitchings is back at OC, right? And they bring in Chandler Morris, the transfer quarterback. How do we expect this offense to look different in 25 and why?
Well, first off, you have 2 very capable quarterbacks that are competing for the job. Obviously, we expect Chandler Morris to kind of get the lead and get the starting job. Daniel Kaling has done a good job of learning the offense, and he showed his capabilities under center during the spring game. So you have 2 capable quarterbacks kind of pushing each other. What you have in Chandler Morris is what you liked of Anthony Calandria, but the experience and the better ball security. That's what you get with Chandler Morris. And you have that relationship that he already built with Tony Elliott, obviously through his father, how they both coached together at Clemson. He has a lot of connections with Virginia, which led him to going to Charlottesville. What you also have is a lot of depth at wide receiver. Because last year, the big problem was when Trell Harris went down, they lost that down the field threat. You really only had Malachi Fields. And he's not the type of guy who can stretch the field like Trell Harris. Now, obviously, Malachi Fields had a big frame, and you always want to lob the ball towards him, but he's not a Trell Harris. And they missed that. So this year, what they did is they attacked the portal, and they got several guys that can do that. I mean, you're at slot receiver. Now you have Cam Ross, you have Cam Courtney, you have Cedarian Harrison. You brought in Jaden Thomas from Notre Dame. And then you also have Josiah Abdullah, a true freshman who enrolled in the spring, and he's already impressing many guys here at Virginia. He is undoubtedly going to play next year. So just seeing all the weapons that they have at wide receiver, you're seeing that depth that they need. And then when you talk about depth, you see the offensive line. The offensive line has always been an issue for Virginia ever since I returned to the beat a few years ago. And that's what Virginia did. They attacked the portal. They were able to get guys in the winter. And then when Monroe Mills went down with an ACL injury that will see him out for the season, they went in and they were able to get Wallace Unamba, which is a guy they recruited in the winter, went back in the portal, and they were able to sign this time. They got Macklin Thomas and David Waldbog Jr. from Syracuse. You have 3 extra linemen. So now you're thinking, who's actually going to be slotted in different positions? You're looking around, you think Brady Wilson and Noah Josie are probably your 2 guaranteed guys in that starting 5, but then you're thinking maybe Macklin Thomas. So there's going to be a lot of options for that O-line, which is where Virginia struggled. I mean, they were one of the worst teams at protecting their quarterbacks the last few years.
So receiver sounds better. Offensive line sounds better. We do think quarterback play improves over last year as well?
Yes, I think so too. I think, one, you have a better, from everything I've heard, a better locker room chemistry between these quarterbacks and the team. I think you have just a better system with these guys. I think they have a good camaraderie with each other. I think they both bring a very different strength from each other too, what we saw from the spring. And I think there's a buy-in in that offense. I think once you get those veteran guys, there's an older locker room. I'm writing a story on Brady Wilson, who has a wife, and his wife went through the transfer portal process with him. So you have that different maturity on that offensive side of the ball, and you can kind of see it in that locker room.
So running back wise, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, so running back. So Dante Hawthorne is no longer part of the roster. He's part of the team, but he's no longer going to be part of football due to medical reasons. So they lost a guy. That's why they got Jamari Taylor. And Jamari Taylor has been probably one of the best players for them on offense from just everyone I talked to. They're really excited about him. And then when you pair him and Xavier Brown, who last year, I think, Bud, you're one of the guys too that says give Xavier the ball because the good things happen when he got the ball. So when you have those two guys as your 1-2, and then you added Harrison Whaley at this during spring, and then if Isaiah Gustav does get in, he's committed, but at this point of recording, he hasn't signed yet. So if he gets into UVA, then you have a really good depth at running back, not in addition to some of the younger guys that's on the roster. UVA hasn't had a running back room that is as deep. Injuries always hampered that group. I mean, against Virginia Tech, they moved Chris Tyree from wide receiver to running back because they had no healthy running backs. Kobe Pace was out. Xavier Brown was out. Noah Vaughn was out. I mean, that was a problem for them last year. So now you have a healthy running back room, you think, with all this depth. I mean, Jamari Taylor never missed a game in his previous school. So, and this is going to be a good, deep room for them. And I know Virginia is really excited when you put that and a deeper offensive line.
Absolutely. So big things are expected from this offense this year. If it takes a huge jump, what's the most likely reason why?
I think it's the O-line. I mean, everything comes down to the trenches, right? If you have a deep, good O-line, you can do a lot of things. I think Virginia has had good skilled players the last few years. I mean, you look at what Malik Washington was able to do 2 seasons ago. You know, last year, you see what Tyler Neville brought to the table. You saw what Trill Harris brought to the table prior to his injury. I mean, you had Malachi Fields on the field. I think Virginia had plenty of skilled players. The O-line just was able to stay healthy enough. I mean, against UNC, once Brian Stevens and Ty Furnish was hurt, you saw what happened. I mean, Brian Stevens was undoubtedly one of their best O-linemen, and Noah Josie had to play injured. Mikhail Boley had to play injured. So now you have depth in the O-line, and if they're better, it's because of that.
That makes a lot of sense. All right, so is there a guy that we're not talking about who could make a big jump positionally, like maybe, you know, going from receiver 3 to receiver 1, or somebody who just has potential to be like an absolute breakout guy?
For on offense, I think Dakota Tweedy at tight end. You know, last year, obviously, he had more reps when Sage Ennis went down. You saw him. He moved from wide receiver to tight end last year. So last year was his first real chance to play the tight end room. Now with Tyler Neville graduating, Sage Ennis is coming back from an ACL injury. You're going to see more of Dakota Tweedy. I mean, I was shocked how big he was. When I first saw him at spring, I mean, he has gotten huge. He's also more comfortable at the tight end position. He said he was an adjustment last year, learning a lot more things. And obviously wide receiver, you're trying to catch the ball. He's like, I'm learning all the blocking schemes. He seems more comfortable during the spring. And that's what everyone has been kind of saying behind the scenes. I mean, they're so comfortable that they didn't go after a tight end in the portal. They felt that what they had was good enough. So I think he's one of those guys that I think you're going to hear more of in the offense. And I think if Virginia has successful, you're going to see those passes to the tight end, because that's when they were successful early on last season. When Sage Ennis went down, they lost that blocking tight end, and Tyler Neville didn't get as many catches because he had to kind of take up that role. Now Dakota Tweedy has 1 more year of experience. So I think he's one of those guys that we might talk more about in the fall.
So let's hit a break here. On the flip side, we'll talk Virginia defense.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
All right, y'all, welcome back into Summer School. We're talking Virginia. That's our friend Jacquie from Wahoo's 247. Last year, the Virginia defense, it was a little bit up and down. They had a lot of red zone success relative to everywhere else on the field, which kind of helped mask, I guess, some of the issues. What are the biggest differences we expect from this unit this year?
So it's kind of like the same storyline with the offense. It's depth, right? Virginia realized they needed experienced depth because since Tony Elliott has arrived in Charlotte, so I mean, every time I talk to you, Bud, it seems like injuries plagued this team, and you're seeing young guys going out there. So Virginia kind of got sick of it. So they went in and they got several D linemen in the portal. So, I mean, they brought Hunter Osborne from Alabama. They got Jacob Holmes. At edge, they brought in Ohio State's Mitchell Melton, Elon's Kazim Moore. They bought Fisher Kemick from UNLV. So they brought a lot of depth there. And then they were also able to add Daniel Rickert just now in the spring portal. So they thought they could add more depth there because that was what position where they lacked depth last year. I mean, as soon as Mekhi Buchanan went down, they were trying to figure out, all right, moving Ben Smiley outside, inside. Then you got TT Jones moving outside, inside, inside, outside. So they're moving guys to a position. They don't want to do that. They want to have guys that they can just, this is your position, this is going to rotate in. And especially when Jason Hammond got hurt last year, when he was having probably the best start to any defensive players on UVA's roster. So they realized they had depth. So that's better. And then the secondary was the biggest weakness for Virginia because of lack of depth as well. You got guys playing in different positions. I mean, it was a rough outing last year for them. And it has been a rough outing ever since you had that pairing of Anthony Johnson and Finchel Cypress during the first year for Virginia at corner. And then you had Antonio Clary out for the season in midway. Jonas Sanker obviously is heading off to the NFL to New Orleans Saints. So they went in and attacked the portal very, very aggressively. They got Devin Neal and Jason Brevard in the winter. And now in the last few weeks, I mean, they added Jordan Robinson. They added, they're sad. They added Jason Robinson. They added DeMarcus Crosby. They're going to add other guys as well, Christian Charles. So all these guys in depth positions, you're going to see a veteran secondary, which has always been a weakness last year. I mean, Kempton Shine was a hero for them playing through injuries. But then you also see Jam Jackson. He was struggling last year because he was not meant to be their starter last year. He was going to be adjusted, but with Dre Walker getting hurt, with other guys getting hurt, he kind of was thrust in there. So I feel like with them adding depth, that's going to be the difference for them.
Pass rush wise, that was a major question last year. And at times it's certainly shown through. Is there a guy who stands out to you as someone who can really rush the passer?
Fisher Kamek. I mean, he's the guy from UNLV, an edge rusher. I think everyone is so excited about him. He's got a big frame. He has a reputation of going for the quarterback. He did that at UNLV. And I mean, even Billy Kudelka, who has a remarkable story here in Virginia. He was a former lacrosse player that walked on to Virginia last year, and he did really well during the spring. And actually, I've heard other Power 4 schools kind of keeping an eye on him and seeing how he develops. He's also got a big frame guy. And I think you've got a couple guys now on that edge room that could really go after the quarterback. And even Jacob Holmes at Fresno State did a good job of getting the quarterback out of that D tackle position. So Virginia made an effort to find guys who has a reputation of being good up front and being aggressive. I think that's something that they lacked, that aggressiveness up front. And I think they realized that. So that's the one thing I will say about Virginia is they're really self-aware of where their problems have been.
What do you think about this schedule? Because when I look at it, if Virginia actually is improved on both sides of the ball, there really aren't many games where you're like, yeah, they can't hang here. Like all of these are somewhat gettable, or many of them I think are games that you probably walk into expecting to win.
Yeah, for sure. I was actually, when you looked at the schedule, the only thing that gave me pause was the bye week separation, how one of the bye weeks is just before the Virginia Tech game. But to be fair, wouldn't you want that bye week right before facing your in-state rival? But yeah, no, I mean, this is a very good schedule for Virginia because even when you look at the road games, I mean, the only ones that you'll probably need to fly is Cal and Louisville. The rest are all in North Carolina. I mean, right. You're going to UNC, you're going to NC State. You're going to have at Duke. I mean, those are good, favorable road games for Virginia. You're not going to fly. I mean, Cal is the worst one. And you have a bye week right before that. So I think this is a very favorable schedule for them, especially with question marks. I mean, look at every single team they face. I mean, when you're going to do summer school with them, they all have questions when it comes to their teams. So yeah, this is a good schedule for a Virginia team that really needs a bowl game.
How would you define success for Tony Elliott in Virginia in his fourth year here?
Usually I would say a bowl game. I think that's been kind of what I would say. But there's so much more hype around the football program right now because of that influx of money that they receive right before the winter portal because of that big donation. And everyone's been so excited about how aggressive they've been in the portal. And thanks to Deion Sanders and his rant a couple of weeks ago, Virginia got some nice little PR moment in the national spotlight. And people realize that Virginia is playing the game a little bit more. And that's what the fans have been hankering for. So I think 7 wins, 8 wins is what the fans would want. I think a bowl game is kind of the minimum that this team needs, but I could say fans are expecting more.
Jacquie, really appreciate it. We'll continue to read all your coverage. You do a great job.
Thanks for having me, bud.